Since I've started my own conscious awakening, my own conscious manifestation journey, I've had plenty of downloads, but nothing I think is more riveting is the one I just recently had. And since accepting it, I can't believe how quickly things change and move in my reality. And I already thought things moved quite quickly. And I'm going to share that with you today. And I think it might give you a different perspective on yourself, on your life, on how to manifest. So let's get into it. Hello, my fellow flawless, limitless, sexy, sassy, saucy Hbics. How are you on this lovely morning, afternoon, or evening? How are you all? I hope you're all doing fabulous. I hope you're all choosing to be the versions of yourself that have exactly what you want. I hope that's what you're doing. Yes, I do. I hope it is. If you would like to work with me in any way, shape, or form, all of that information is in the drop box below. They're in the screens that probably just went by. I have 3 lovely channel memberships where basically it's like manifestation support. It's a manifestation community within all 3. I really encourage you to look at the VIP, the Advanced Manifestors group. That's a group where we deep dive conscious manifestation, all aspects of it. That group gives you the free access to my exclusive lives group, which is the Zhuzh group. We only talk success stories, tips, and tricks, as well as my Friday hot seat group. That's the group that you can get yourself into the hot seat and ask me anything you want in regards to your life, your circumstances, manifestation as a whole, anything you want. And again, the VIP, the Advanced Manifestors group, gives you access to those. The VIP, the Advanced Manifestors, are the only group that gets all the recordings for all 3 channel memberships. They're the only group that has that access, as well as it's the only group that gets the random private live streams where it's just me and you, where everything's on the table. We can talk about anything you want. It's not even just limited to manifestation. If you want to talk about other things, we can. We do. You will also have the live recordings to replay yourself. Did that make sense? The live recordings. The replays of the live itself. So I encourage you to look there. Now let's get into today's video. Now, quite frankly, I have had all sorts of downloads along my journey, and I have embraced and loved and tried to apply anything that has come to my mind that I've seen as a download. And quite frankly, we're consciousness, so I guess everything that comes to mind you could look at as some kind of a download if you'd like, but there is a sense of knowing when it is an actual download versus the random thought, right? But nobody knows that better than yourself, what it sounds like in your mind. And for me, there is always a still, small, quiet voice in the back of what I am visualizing right now as I'm speaking to you, in the back of my head. That's how I refer to it. And it's always there. It's always loving and encouraging, but always there. It never leaves. And I view that as source. Now, throughout my journey, I've talked about conscious manifestation in all sorts of ways. I have always shared exactly what or how I was applying things in my life, what was working for me. And if something stopped working or I thought it stopped working and moved past it, I've shared that too, and I've moved right along. It's one of the main reasons why I do not get rid of any of my old content, because I believe people are going to find me in all different varying places in their own journey. And maybe older content is going to meet someone, maybe newer to all of this, is going to meet them where they are, because I believe that's what happens. Consciousness, source, meets us where we are. Now, why do you think that happens? And this is part of the download. Well, outside of the fact that we all, I'm sure, if you're been around this community for any amount of time or you've watched any of my content, you're already aware of the I am and who you really are. is that I am, is source, is pure unadulterated consciousness. But one thing that hasn't really been sitting right with me over the last month or two, and I really couldn't put my finger on why it's not sitting right with me. And I asked my higher self, I asked, why? Why is this particular wording not hitting? It's just not hitting. I feel the resistance to it, but I don't have a good enough reason why I'm feeling resistance to it. And I say good enough because nothing was really coming to mind. I just yuck. And that is the idea of the character. I won't be talking about ourselves as simple characters, avatars, or anything else, or any other word that implies separation. I won't do it. And the reason why I am completely stepping away from that is because it is misleading and it is confusing. You see, this download came with the understanding that we have just taken the idea of demonizing the ego or demonizing fixing your self-concept. And we've just replaced it with now demonizing character. No, we are perfect as we are. We are perfect, whole, complete. And the absolute in all of its content, the void in all of its contents, pure unadulterated consciousness and all of its contents are within you right now in this moment. You were created for a reason. Your perfection. You might not always feel perfect, and you might not always feel like there's, everything's perfect about you. But you're perfect. You are whole and truly complete. It's just time for you to remember. You are not some simple ass, plain old, just a character. You are not. You are a specific point in consciousness. Source. Remember, that's who you really are. Specifically created you, me, and every other person on this planet to experience physical reality with or through or as. So when we think of ourselves as, I'm getting entangled with my 3D today. I'm back into character. Well, where did source go? Where did the I am go? Where did consciousness go? It never leaves. It never leaves. You are always source. You are always the I am. As I have accepted that I am source now, that I've kind of accepted that really from day one of my journey. My understanding of it has evolved over time. And you can go look back to 3 years ago, September of 2022, where that download came to, I don't have to do all these techniques. I'm just going to make a decision. This is who I am. So it's not that my recent download was the I am. It was the recent download of thinking, wait a minute. The who I am is Kimberly is not just a human. It is not just a separate being. It's source, experiencing reality by choice as Kimberly. So how that applies to conscious manifestation, and what I think is going to help a lot of you, is you can stop being at war with your mind and the decisions you make, or the physical things you do in reality, your physical decisions, the actions you take. You can stop labeling them good and bad, good and bad, good manifester, bad manifester, operating as the I am, or operating from the character. There is no separation ever. So we don't just drop into character again. At most, we forget we're source. And I believe this entire journey, the entire point of awakening, is to know yourself as source. In a sense, to come home. But you see, source is always there. You are always operating, moving, interacting, even when you are entangled. You're entangled as source. It is source experiencing it. So how does that apply to conscious manifestation? Stop fighting and over-analyzing every move, every thought that you make. When you feel you are in a struggle, we can think of that as it's a version of yourself. But we move through states of consciousness constantly. Everything we do, every move we make is movement through states of consciousness. It's always happening. That's why things are always changing. The more you allow yourself to just know yourself as source, and that source chose to experience reality as who you are, then who you are has always ever been enough. But because source is the true unconditional love and experiences all aspects of you, meaning to help make it easier to understand the different versions of you. So there's a version of you who doesn't think very highly of him or herself. Source doesn't stop loving you. Source doesn't leave. It's source experiencing it. That's where our decision comes in to the play. But you don't stop being source because you recognize or experiencing your character. You're not just a fucking character. We are fluid, malleable. It's not just reality that's fluid and malleable. We are too. Might not feel that way because of our physical meat sack, but we are. And the relationship that we are or have with source is fluid. It is fluid. It never leaves. So instead of worrying about you took the wrong action in 3D reality today, instead of worrying about, oh, I marinated too much in this shitty thought today, instead move past it. Forgive yourself for it if that's really something you think is necessary. I don't think it is. I think that with that spark of desire, your own intuitive knowing that you want whatever it is you're manifesting, everything is taking you to that manifestation anyway. And it's why that when you kind of remove the focus on trying to analyze and overly logical think about 3D reality, and instead you just be, you just live and exist and think about yourself as being the self that has your desire. It's why that when you allow yourself in imagination to think of yourself experiencing the things you love, it's why you feel different when you do. But it's always been source. Even when you have felt bad, it was still you as source. But my point is that that's why desires light us up. That's why it feels good to think of yourself experiencing the things you want. You see, life is taking you to it with your agreement of who you are, with your agreement, with your knowing, with your understanding that you're source and there is nothing left to do. Now, if you are more of the science-y type of person and you need the science behind everything, it might not be so easy for you to immediately accept that you're source, and maybe you need the structure and the techniques, and that's okay. This video is not to encourage you to drop all your techniques if doing them makes you feel good. If doing them lights you up and allows you to think of yourself having your desire, knowing yourself as source, that's perfectly fine. What you want lights you up. See that as you are meant to have that experience. And you being you knowing yourself as source, living your life, being aware that guess what? Being aware of the desire, being aware of being the you that will absolutely experience that desire. What else is there to do but to live your life? When I stopped worrying and micromanaging all of my thoughts or micromanaging all of my actions and allowed myself to just be, things started coming to me naturally, effortlessly. And I believe that's really all we have to do to manifest. And because we're source, it is the things that we consistently keep our focus on. They stay in our awareness. They stay in our reality. But don't misunderstand that. For example, if you're manifesting a specific person and there's a third party in that equation somewhere, you being aware that there's a third party doesn't mean that the third party is going to forever be in your, in your face. Doesn't mean that. You can know it's there, but you also can know it's there and not be threatened by it. You can know that that third party exists and might currently be in the relationship with your person. But that doesn't mean you are threatened by that anymore. It doesn't mean you're afraid of that anymore. And it doesn't mean you agree that that third party can inhibit you from experiencing your desire because you're source. So you can relax into that. And it's a relaxation. It's a leaning into, I know everything is going to be okay. It's really no different than affirming that to yourself. I always get what I want. Everything always works out for me. It's the same idea. You're God, your source, higher power, source energy, moonbeams, whatever you want to call it. But that's who you are, your true self. And your true self chose you to create you. You are never separate from source. Source is always working within you. So stop beating yourself up in order to manifest. It's not necessary. Knowing that you are God, knowing that you are source, knowing what you're saying yes to for yourself. In other words, knowing you are the self you want to be is enough. And watch how little coincidences, little things that are somehow connected pop up in reality. And it's because you knowing that your source has always been enough. Now, if you're brand new, that might be something really difficult for you to contemplate. This is why I'm saying the techniques aren't bad. You don't have to throw out your techniques. If you love affirming, if affirming makes you feel good, if affirming makes you feel like I'm going to have my manifestation because I'm doing this, then you keep fucking doing them. This is not a video trying to tell anybody to give up the things they enjoy. This video is to tell you that you're already perfect. You're already amazing. There's nothing left to change about you and to guide you into bringing your awareness, your attention, your focus onto knowing you are source. Your desire is from source. You are meant to have your desires. And just knowing that, yes, can be enough to manifest. But as source, all the versions of you are an option. It's why the idea of our free will ends outside of the decision of who you are aware of being. From there, everything happens naturally and effortless. Now, my logical friends, that might be a tough one to agree with as well, but I encourage you to test it. You're always in charge of who you believe you are, but you never separate from source, ever. You're not just a character. You are a perfect, whole, complete being, and you always have been. But remember, the free will is to choose who you're experiencing reality as. Another way of looking at it is you are choosing what reality you're experiencing. You're choosing your outcomes. You are. And that's all you need to really ever know. So if you're doubting your manifestation, if you're afraid it's never going to happen, let me reassure you, it most certainly is. And you have that spark of desire for a reason. So you can relax, love yourself, love your life, and know that everything you're experiencing is helping, is moving, is shifting, is changing, is leading you exactly to where you want to be. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow.